Welcome back to the Key for Women Professional Development Series community. Today we're going to talk about bolstering your authentic confidence. So in my work with women business owners and leaders, I often hear that confidence is a bit of a gap. So the data shows between men and women do tend to exhibit less outward confidence. And a lot of the research shows that we tend to kind of externally orient our confidence versus men are more internally driven. So what the science and the data shows is that we look externally for validation of our own confidence versus internally driving it. So today, we're going to talk about tools, tips, and tricks to bolster your own authentic confidence and how we'll have a powerful discussion together about your confidence and how you can bolster it to be even stronger. So let's start with a visioning activity. So for those of you on the video and you're watching, close your eyes and envision your most authentic and confident self. For those of you listening in, think about what you're doing, who you're with, and how you feel. So when you are at your most confident self, what's going on in the world around you? Where are you at? Who are you with? And how do you feel? And I want you to hold on to this vision, channel it, think about the common factors that are contributing to healthy confidence, and think about who you are when you show up most authentically in the world. So we're going to use this vision in our time together, and it's going to be threaded throughout our talk today, because what you're going to walk away with are some tools for knowing your own sources of confidence, how to successfully build strategies to surround yourself with those sources of confidence, and then third, reflecting on challengers and proactively engaging with them. There's always going to be the naysayers out there. Right? There's always going to be the person or the situation that makes you feel uncomfortable. So let's think proactively how to flip that into a positive so that you can assert yourself in that situation authentically and confidently. So with that in mind, think about how important is confidence. And for women in business, I find it to be paramount, right? When we're negotiating, when we're selling, when we're influencing our team, exhibiting ourselves in the most confident, healthy way is an incredibly powerful tool for women especially. And I find the winning combination here is between the intersection of authenticity and confidence really does build a winning game plan. And so when you think about your business and when it's succeeding and when it's at its highest level, chances are you're doing things that are aligned with your authentic self, and you're in a situation where your confidence is naturally exuding. So how do we build healthy confidence? 3 key tricks that we'll talk about, tips and strategies around positive thinking, curiosity, and vulnerability. So positive thinking has been around since the 80s, and what's interesting about it is what the research shows is as positive thinking has been developed more fully, it kind of got a bad rap in the 80s and 90s of like, just think it, if you believe it, you can achieve it kind of thing. And, everything from the Stuart Smalley on Saturday Night Live skit to, gosh darn it, people like me. Unfortunately, right, the research shows that now today, positive thinking is in fact, there's a ton of neuroscience behind it that shows us that it is in fact a proven tool. So we're going to talk about the importance of channeling our positive thinking, of having our positive affirmations, and in truly approaching things from a positive perspective and flipping those negative scripts we tell ourselves. Curiosity. So I find when we don't know the answers, we can get a little scared and nervous, and that can wreak havoc on our confidence. Or in the moment when we don't know, we can choose to be curious instead. And so when I don't know something, right, or my clients don't know something, I ask them to say, I'm curious to know. Help me understand, right? Asking good questions to come into a place of learning versus to having all the answers. And that requires our third point, vulnerability. It requires us to step outside of our comfort zone, to do things we may not yet have known, to do things like ask for feedback when we're afraid it might not be positive. And being vulnerable and being confident go hand in hand. And so vulnerability doesn't mean like, oh, woe is me, I'm a victim, everything bad is happening to me. That's not vulnerability. What good vulnerability looks like is like, hey, I don't know the answers. Let's talk about it, right? Or embracing uncertainty and stepping into it. And vulnerability is never going to feel comfortable. It's never going to be planned. It's not going to be scripted. Being vulnerable requires you to take a leap of faith, just like in our picture on the video, and step into something that's perhaps outside your comfort zone and embrace that discomfort as a positive thing for growth. So one of the activities we're going to debrief in person is our SWOT analysis. For anyone in business, probably familiar with this, probably done it for your business. Strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. A good business person loves a good SWOT. However, I find we don't often do this for ourselves. So we're going to talk about what are our strengths, weaknesses, and opportunities and threats for us personally. So this is for you, not your business. What are you consistently getting positive feedback on? So you as a human, what are the things that people ask you to do more of, continually give you accolades, give you testimonials on? What are the specific things you do well? Okay, and then I want you to flip it and think about the weaknesses. And please do start with the strengths first, not the weaknesses. And I want 3 times as many strengths as weaknesses. I know when working with women, we tend to focus on the weaknesses first. Do not do that. So what are not your strengths? As hard as you may try. You know, for me, details, I'm never going to be an analytical, detail-oriented thinker. As hard as I try, it's just not ever going to be one of my strengths. I could focus on it all day, all night. It's just not naturally there. So think about what are those things for you? What are the 2, 3 things that as hard as you may try, it's not in your wheelhouse, and that is 100% okay. You probably have someone on your team that helps you with this already. And if you don't, it's a great opportunity, because that's what we're going to talk about with opportunities and threats is how do you leverage your strengths? So flip your strengths into opportunities. How can you do more of the things that are aligned with what you're truly good at? And then from a threat perspective, how do you mitigate your weaknesses? And a lot of times we find others to support us on that, right? For me, with detail-oriented work, I often find a really quiet place. I light a candle, I play classical music, I lock the door. And that's how I do detail-oriented work. It's not pretty, but that's my threat mitigation strategy. And so think about your own personal SWOT and prep that for our time together. Because what everyday women say about confidence is, I still remember one of my evaluations where a partner commented that I had a lot of self-confidence. From that day forward, it multiplied. So again, this external validation, when people give us positive feedback, that can bolster our confidence. But guess what? We're not in control of that. What we are in control of is our own curiosity. So another woman shared with me, curiosity has motivated me. When I think of something I want to achieve career-wise, I become very inquisitive about how to make it happen. Sometimes I win and sometimes I learn. The third quote I have here is, I seek out those that make me feel a little uncomfortable because they will stretch me and challenge me. Anytime I go through a funk, I sit down and remind myself why I do what I do. Yes, having your why. We're going to talk about that in a later event in our series. But I think this whole idea of being uncomfortable, being comfortable, being uncomfortable. Put yourself outside your comfort zone at least once a week, or set a realistic goal for yourself. Doing something that's different, something that you don't already know every once in a while, that bolsters your confidence, because usually you surprise yourself with how much you learned or how good you were at something that maybe you didn't know you were good at yet. So the tools we're going to talk about in our time together is about knowing your sources of confidence, how to surround yourself with your sources of confidence, and then challengers and how to proactively prepare for them. Those 3 in tandem kind of are a winning recipe for confidence. And everyday experiences impacting our confidence. We've got our Supergirl here on the video. You know, the things that my clients tell me is stepping outside my comfort zone, right? Getting comfortable, feeling uncomfortable. Surprising ourselves with what we're capable of doing. And a lot of times when you take a leap and it works out, it's like, ooh, I didn't know I could do that, you know, and got to learn from that. You got to pay attention to that positive energy and where that positive energy is coming from and channeling that. Find a way to be in those positions more often. Being aware of feedback before you even get it. I love sharing this with clients, you know, my handouts, the details, how to upload files, things like that. I'll often say, I apologize in advance if I get a detail wrong. It is not my intention to do so. I know it's important. I'm just not naturally good at that, right? And so if they give me feedback about handouts missing or page numbers or some detail, I'm anticipating that. And I kind of laugh it off, but I also say, I'm really sorry about that. That's something I'm not naturally good at. I'm working on getting better. Thank you for bringing that to my attention. And then being curious. So curiosity is something that goes hand in hand with confidence. So when you think about your energy level, and know who and what fuels your confidence. So when do you feel full? When do you feel empty? Okay. Chances are it has to do with two things: people and experiences. So from a people perspective, a lot of times when we're around our mentors, they help fill us up. Our friends and family may fill us up. Our peers may fill us up. Our clients. Then think about experiences. Think about your SWOT, strengths, weaknesses, those opportunities and threats. How does that impact your gauge of energy with confidence? Your passions, the things you're passionate about, likely fuel your confidence, and your purpose, your why. Why do you do what you do? When you're doing the things that you truly believe you are meant to do, that are part of your purpose and your why, you're much more likely to feel full. So I want you to think about those things, those people and experiences that bolster your confidence. And then I also want you to think about the words that we tell ourselves really do matter. So positive affirmations is a wonderful tip and trick in positivity. I write mine on masking tape, so I'm showing a picture in the video of one of my early affirmations that I would put with my calendar. Every month I would write where I'm going to be and the events that I had on the books, and then I would write a positive affirmation above it. I accomplished my financial goals. So a good positive affirmation is said in present or future tense. It is I fill in the blank, action verb, and that is a positive affirmation. They usually start with I am or I will, or as in this example, a positive or present tense verb that is positive. I accomplish, I do, whatever it is. Have these, and if nothing else, write them in a journal on a regular basis. Or if you want to take me up on this offer, put them around your office on masking tape or Post-it notes. I have clients that put them on their rearview mirror. Gratitude journals. There is so much research and science to support those that lead with gratitude are far more successful and confident. And do this in the closing minutes before you go to bed. The few minutes before nighttime are so, so important to setting your sleep cycle on a positive tone. Your brain is actually working on connecting pieces of your brain that they believe is helpful. So whatever you're thinking in those last 2 minutes before you go to bed, your brain is activating those parts of your brain. And so you're much more likely to dream about it, think about it. It's going to find new pathways to be thinking about those things. If you're thinking about negatives or listening to the news, that's probably not a good idea. Think about what you're grateful for, what's going well in your life. And think about your story. One exercise I love to do with clients is think about yourself 3 years from now. Who are you? What are you doing? What does your business look like? Okay, let's write that narrative out. Think holistically about the aspects of your life from a career, a family, a personal and professional perspective, a financial perspective, and write that story and read it to yourself. It's very, very empowering. And I'd be remiss if I did not mention there are challengers to our confidence. So the best tool in the face of a challenger to our confidence is positivity. Those positive affirmations, flipping that negative script in our head to a positive one. So when I have something like imposter syndrome creep up in my head, I'm not good enough, they don't want this service, whatever it may look like for me, clients aren't interested. If I'm telling myself that, I'm going to show up with that mentality, and the activity is going to map towards those challengers to confidence. Instead, flip that script. And I think about, no, clients want to hear from me. My services are valuable. And so flipping that negative script, that negative self-talk in the moment is incredibly powerful. Vulnerability, put yourself out there. I find when I put myself out there with clients, here are my fears, here are the things that I'm worried about, here are the objections I'm getting. Does this sound familiar? They're much more likely to share their own fears and objections. And wow, do you really build trust when that happens? And then the good old Superwoman pose. So if you have not watched Amy Cuddy's TED Talk, it is a wonderful TED Talk. It's CUDDY. And she talks about the imposter syndrome and the study she did on the power pose. And it's much like Superwoman's power pose. It's shown to increase your testosterone levels and actually decrease your cortisol, so your stress level. So it does lead to healthy confidence. I do this a lot of times before I'm speaking, layered with some positive affirmations, just for a minute or so, hold that pose with some deep breathing, and it really helps bolster my confidence, especially in the face of a challenger. And if you are a reader and like books, the 3 books I recommend for confidence is first and foremost The Confidence Code. It is the science behind it, a little science heavy in the beginning, but the back end has wonderful strategies, like the ones I'm sharing with you today. You're a Badass is one of the best books. Jen Sicero's hilarious account of self-affirmation and self-advocacy, and then Presence. So Amy Cuddy that I mentioned wrote a book called Presence, and it is a wonderful book about confidence and having executive presence. So we're going to end with our pre-work lab questions like we do each time. And the 4 that you have today, so you have an extra one today, is the first one is, what does your SWOT look like? So I want you to map out the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats. I want 3 times as many strengths as weaknesses. Your opportunities mapped to your strengths, your threats mapped to your weaknesses, and we'll work on that together. And then what are your sources of confidence? Those people and experiences that bolster your confidence naturally. Third piece is, how do you surround yourself with those sources? Okay, so how do you put yourself in a position so you're doing more of those things more often? And then 4 are the challengers, and how do you proactively engage with them? They're going to happen. For some of my clients, they're arrogant people, they're sales scenarios, whatever it is. When it happens, because it's going to happen, what do you do? How do you show up in that situation as your most confident self? So we look forward to seeing you in our next session. Thanks so much.